The observation deck of the interstellar cruiser Meridian hummed with the gentle vibration of quantum engines as Roman stood pressed against the viewport, watching distant stars blur into streaks of light. He'd been assigned to this diplomatic vessel 3 months ago as a cultural liaison, a fancy title for someone who basically made sure human customs didn't accidentally offend alien dignitaries. It was supposed to be boring work paperwork, protocol briefings, the occasional awkward dinner. Then Princess Kendall came aboard. She arrived with an entourage of silver-clad guards and advisors, her presence announced by the shimmer of her bioluminescent skin that shifted through shades of violet and blue. The Luminari were an ancient race, their civilization spanning thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. Kendall was their youngest princess, sent on a diplomatic tour to strengthen alliances across the galaxy. Roman had been briefed about her: highly educated, fluent in 47 languages, trained in diplomacy since childhood. What the briefing didn't mention was how profoundly sad her eyes looked. Despite the perfect diplomatic smile she wore like armor. Their first real interaction came during a state dinner in the Grand Hall. Roman was stationed near the refreshment table, monitoring the event, when Kendall quietly slipped away from her handlers. She approached the viewport where he stood, her guards maintaining a respectful distance. "It must be liberating," she said softly, her voice carrying a melodic quality that seemed to harmonize with the ship's ambient sounds. "To be so far from home without the weight of a crown." Roman glanced at her, surprised. "I wouldn't know about crowns, Your Highness. But yeah, space does have a way of making you feel small and free at the same time." She smiled, a real one this time, he noticed. "Kendall, please, just Kendall when we're away from the ceremonies." "Roman," he replied, extending his hand in the human custom. She studied it for a moment before placing a hand in his. Her skin was warm, warmer than he expected, and seemed to pulse gently with light. Over the following weeks they developed an unlikely friendship. Kendall would find excuses to visit the observation deck during Roman's shifts. They'd talk about everything and nothing: his childhood in the Appalachian Mountains of Earth, her education in the crystal palaces of Lumina Prime. She confessed that despite knowing 47 languages, she felt she had nothing real to say. He admitted that despite traveling the stars, he felt more lost than ever. One evening, the ship passed through a particularly beautiful nebula, painting the observation deck in shades of amber and rose. Roman stood alone, humming to himself an old song his grandmother used to sing. Something about stars and remembering home. He didn't even realize he was doing it until he heard a sharp intake of breath behind him. Kendall stood frozen in the doorway, her luminescence flickering rapidly, a sign of extreme emotion among her people. Her guards started forward in concern, but she held up a hand to stop them. "That song," she whispered, moving closer to Roman. "Where did you learn that song?" Roman blinked, confused. "It's just an old Earth folk song. My grandmother used to sing it." "Again," Kendall interrupted, her voice urgent. "Please." Bewildered but compliant, Roman began to sing. His voice wasn't trained or particularly beautiful, but he knew the words by heart. "When the stars forget your name, and the darkness feels the same, remember light within your soul will guide you home and make you whole." Kendall's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide. Before Roman could finish the verse, she joined him, her voice interweaving with his imperfect harmony. But she wasn't singing in English, she was singing in Lu, an ancient dialect that even her own people rarely used anymore. When the last note faded, Kendall sank onto a nearby bench, her guards rushing forward. She waved them away again, tears streaming down her face, leaving trails of soft light on her cheeks. "No one else knows that song," she whispered, looking up at Roman with wonder. "No one living. It's from the old texts, from before the Great Silence, when our people could still dream walk between worlds." She shook her head in disbelief. "How is this possible?" Roman sat beside her carefully. "I don't know. My grandmother said it was passed down through generations. She said her grandmother's grandmother learned it from a stranger who came through the mountains one night. Someone who glowed in the darkness." Kendall's breath caught. The lost expedition. There were stories, legends really, of Luminari explorers who went too far, who found a world they called Terra and never returned. Most historians think they died, but what if? She turned to Roman, her bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. "What if they stayed? What if they taught your ancestors, our songs, our stories?" "You're saying I might have alien ancestors?" Roman asked, a smile tugging at his lips. "I'm saying," Kendall replied, reaching for his hand, "that perhaps we've been connected for far longer than either of us knew. That song, it's about remembering who you are when you're far from home, about finding light even in the darkest places." She squeezed his hand gently. "My mother used to sing it to me when I was young, before the duties of royalty made her forget how to simply be." Roman looked at their joined hands, human and Luminari, separated by galaxies and centuries yet somehow bound by a melody that transcended both. "Maybe that's what we've both been looking for," he said quietly. "A reminder that even when we're lost, we're not alone." Kendall smiled, and for the first time since boarding the Meridian, the sadness in her eyes gave way to something else: hope outside the viewport. Stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the boundaries of species or the weight of crowns, witnesses to a friendship born from an impossible song that somehow, against all odds they both knew, and in the harmony of two voices, one human, one alien, the ancient melody lived on, a bridge across the cosmos, proving that some connections run deeper than blood, older than empires, and stronger than the vast silence of space itself.